Hello, welcome to I Hate Rock Music. I'm Brian Fox, and I've kind of been off line for a while. I haven't done any videos the last couple months. I've had some stuff going on, but I had to make a quick video today because, of course, news is traveling fast that Ozzy Osbourne is dead at 76, lead singer of Black Sabbath and a solo career, and really pretty surprising. Although not, I shouldn't say surprising, just a shock because he's been in our lives for a long time, certainly been in my life for a long time, and he's the king. Black Sabbath arguably laid the blueprint for all the heavy metal that's come since. There's been a lot of variations on heavy metal since then, but certainly the Black Sabbath blueprint and the Ozzy wannabes have peppered the musical landscape since 1970 now because of Ozzy. And also ironic that they just had this huge tribute to him, obviously, last week with all these young bands giving tribute to Ozzy, who, because of his health problems, was sitting in a throne and performed one last time with the original Black Sabbath, including Bill Ward. So very touching in context of the fact that Ozzy Osbourne is now passed. So really happy that that event happened and that this legacy was honored, and Ozzy particularly had this one last moment to perform for his many fans. And so for me personally, it is a huge loss. Um, kind of like with Alice Cooper, as far as Ozzy Osbourne, I was never really a big fan of his solo stuff, and that's just because I was raised on the original Black Sabbath, and I have nothing but respect for Ozzy and his solo endeavors, but it was the magical chemistry of the original Black Sabbath that really made it all happen for me. And even that reunion album, quite a few years ago now, 13, is really incredible, even without Bill Ward. It just proves how important that particular chemistry was that they had. A stunning band, and I know they took a lot of shit when they were around about their musicianship and everything else. But I'm glad to see historically people now look at Black Sabbath's work and realize what amazing musicians they were. And of course, Tony Iommi is the king of the riff and just an undeniable force. And my experience with Black Sabbath, of course, was in 1970. The single Paranoid came out and got airplay. And of course, at the age of 13 in 1970, I was ripe for Black Sabbath, and I was already leaning towards predominantly really hard rock. I really responded to hard rock, and so kind of been a closet metalhead my whole life because of that experience. And so heard Paranoid in the radio, and I went out to buy the Paranoid album, and it wasn't out yet, so I bought the first album, which I was completely unaware of before that, and needless to say, I was utterly blown away, and it was a dream come true for me. And then the Paranoid album itself came out, and once again, I was completely blown away, and they became one of my favorite bands with all the other bands that were big in 1970. So, I was really into Deep Purple and Alice Cooper and Led Zeppelin, just like all the other 13-year-olds in 1970. And then Masters of Reality album came out, and that for me was the mother lode. Never, like so many other people, I'd never heard anything quite so heavy. The detuning and everything else, and just these massive riffs and the distortion on Tony Iommi's guitar. But Ozzy was unique. There really isn't anybody that sounds remotely like him, and really added to the complete package of Black Sabbath. Not only to have these incredible musicians, but Ozzy fronting the band. And he was really influenced by the Beatles, and oddly enough, would have preferred to kind of go in that more direction. At least that's what his fantasies were. So he ended up obviously paving a completely different path with Black Sabbath. And I was surprised to find out too that it's actually Geezer Butler that wrote all the lyrics, and Ozzy would just tweak them. But he had an unmistakable sound, and he definitely is the king of so-called metal singers, and inspired generations and generations after that. But as I pointed out, nobody's ever really sounded like him. So um, And again, I'm not that crazy about some of the latter Black Sabbath albums like Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die, because the blueprint for more of a kind of a pop metal were laid. But Black Sabbath, Paranoid, Masters of Reality, Volume 4, and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath are just monumental records. And I also appreciate the fact that Ozzy was a real guy, a real good guy. He loved his fans. He never um, shied from letting his fans know that he totally appreciated and loved his audience. And that goes a long way to why Ozzy was so beloved by his followers, so to speak, and and his working class roots, and just his humility and his genuine love of his audience, which really came through all those years. And so anyway, I'm sure there's lots of other things I could say about the amazing Ozzy Osbourne. And we, like all the other giants from the 60s and 70s that are passing now, we're getting used to losing these icons that have been with us our whole life. So I guess I'll just leave it at that. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. At least your legacy is completely intact. You made a huge impact on the world of music, and you were completely respected. And everyone knows what your contribution was to music, and you will truly be missed. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music. I'm Brian Fox. The king is dead. Long live the king.